What's going on, everybody? My name's Eli, and welcome back to my Thank you for subscribing, and if you haven't yet, I hope I win you over soon. New content coming every week, and don't forget, if you have any questions or are looking for personal advice or mentorship, you can always comment under the video or reach out to me on Instagram. So today I wanted to bring a video that I thought a lot of my subscribers would find helpful. Many of my subscribers are fellow pre-dents or incoming dental students, and I figured that this would be an opportune time for us to receive advice about going into your D1 year. And I'm just so fortunate to have two friends that just finished their D1 years at University of Maryland School of Dentistry and Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry. So without further ado, I'll introduce my two friends, Chidozie Uta and Malik Walters.
So hi everybody, my name is Chidozie Uta and I'm a rising D2 at the University of Maryland School of Dentistry.
Hey everyone, my name is Malik Walters. I'm a rising D2 as well at Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry.
Alright, great. So first off, congratulations on finishing your D1 years. I know both of you guys did a graduate program after undergrad. So if you want to just talk a little bit about what that graduate program was, and looking back on your D1 year, how do you feel that graduate program possibly helped you in being successful in school?
Alright, so I did the G² program, which is a joint program between George Mason and Georgetown University. It was an awesome program, definitely a change of pace from undergrad because it tried to mimic professional school as much as it could, but the reality of the situation is it's really hard to get prepared for dental school, only because there's just such a large volume of information being thrown your way. So what I do love about the G² program that I did, it got me in the right mindset to be able to handle the volume of information that would be thrown at me. So I will say that it did prepare me, but in more so in my mindset wise.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I did the Master of Health Sciences program at Meharry Medical College. It was a one-year master's program where it was just strictly upper level science courses. So for example, first semester I took like biochemistry, microbiology, cell bio, and the following semester classes such as like pathology and physiology. But I think if nothing else, my master's program was like a transition period, because going from undergrad to first year dental school, the rigor of like this coursework is on a different level.
Yeah,
for sure. But the MHS program at Meharry really helped me kind of get in the flow of things, like kind of like a stepping stone to help prepare me for like the actual flow of dental school.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is much different than undergrad.
A lot different.
A lot different. A lot different.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So just so y'all know, we keep it real on the channel. Like anything you want to say, these are opinions. So you cannot. No one can come strike you down for your opinion. Nobody's cancel you. Not on this channel.
True.
So while we're speaking on the subject of doing graduate programs after undergrad, these two questions will be kind of a joint question. But for people like me who may have had like a low GPA in their undergrad careers, or for people that may have not scored as well on their DET, when you get to dental school, do you feel like what your DET score was or what your GPA even matters at that point?
No.
No. Not really, because like I said, it's a mindset. Really, like you could go in there and like some people that didn't do as well on the DAT or have a low GPA or whatever the case may be, you could get into dental school and that information start to click for you so well, because after your D1 year, really like you start focusing more on the dental related classes. So the dental classes can really start clicking for you so much better than the cell bios and the anatomies and this and that you end up being top of your class or whatever the case may be. So like I really don't think there's probably a little bit of a correlation, but like in my personal opinion, not that much. It really depends on the person, maturity level. Like you could really get into dental school and your mindset just switch up and you're like, all right, you know what? I was playing around in undergrad, but I'm about to be serious right now?
Well, personally, I don't think there's any correlation between DAT score, well, at least DAT score, and how well you will do your first year of dental school. Because like a lot of people, some people are better test takers than they
100%.
are like in the actual classroom, and it's vice versa for other people. But I would say like the DAT score, having like, you know, how a lot of schools have these different cutoffs for that and GPA. I really feel like the only purpose these serve is just to like get you in the door.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's when the interview, like why I feel like the interview is important, because you can really show who you actually are off of this paper, off of these statistics or these stats that like, you know, keep so many people from like, you know, getting in.
100%.
But I feel like the DAT score definitely like, you know, give it your best.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, give it your best, but I don't think that the DAT score really matters. It's almost like when you get to college, no one asks what your SAT score was.
Exactly.
You know, like it's just,
exactly.
Yeah, it's really just like one of those things you just have to do to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so next we're going to get into what a typical day in your life was like as a D1 student, from waking up till you went to bed. And you can also mention like what time you got up and went to bed and stuff too. Okay.
For me, I'm an early bird, so I've always been a morning person. I'm up every day, typically about like 6 or 6:30. 6 or 6:30. But for me, of course, this past D1 year was different than like other years because of COVID. So for me, I would wake up, sit at my desk at like 8 a.m. because we would have lecture, log in, and I would have lecture basically 8 to 10, then from 10 to 12, another lecture, then lunch break from 12 to 1, and then typically, at least fall semester, I had a lab, virtual, from 1 to 5, again at my desk. But like, that was my typical day. And then after class, you know, I would typically like take a break, of course, eat food, watch TV. Then before I know it, it's like 8 p.m. And then after that, I would look at some notes from the day.
Yeah. That sounds pretty similar to my experience.
Yeah.
So you'd wake up. I wasn't waking up at 6 a.m. So I'd wake up about like 8 a.m. and then probably sit at my desk, log in, have lectures, and then typically our labs didn't start till about like 1 o'clock. So the difference between me and Malik's experiences is I actually still went into lab. And, you know, when we first got into school, we started with waxing lab, where we were waxing up different morphologies of the tooth, of each tooth, or whatever the case may be. And then like after that ended, then we started operative, where we're actually like drilling on different teeth and whatnot. So those labs were typically like 1 to 5 or around something around that time. But around 5 o'clock, my day was done, and I'd do the same thing you did. Like after studying and, you know, doing lab and all that other stuff for that many hours in the day, I wanted to like relax, and then typically go home and like review some of the stuff that you did early on the day or not, you know.
I mean, because once 5 o'clock comes, the last thing I want to do is look at my computer some more, like the computer screen.
Exactly, that, and it's fall semester and things start to get dark. You know, so by like 5 o'clock, it's dark outside, so I'm like...
It was getting dark early.
Yeah.
Well, now that I think about it, like we definitely we had DAO. We were going in the lab, but earlier in the semester, like maybe September, a little bit of October, but even then we were going like, the class was split in half because all of us couldn't go in due to like social distancing. But then I think around mid-October, when COVID cases in Nashville started spiking, then they was like, nah, we just strictly virtual. So yeah, so I say the majority of my like fall semester and spring semester were like remote, like online learning, which I'm not a fan of. But, you know.
See, I think there's benefits. There's like pros and cons to the virtual learning. Because like I heard like the D1s, so COVID obviously impacted like me and Malik's experience. But I heard the D1s, like how it usually was like they spent majority of their time at the school, like in lab, and like some people barely got time to like come back and eat and all that other stuff. So I was like, I don't know, man. Like COVID probably reduced my stress levels probably a good like 15%.
For sure. But at the same time, I get that. Like being stuck in the comfort of my apartment is much better than being stuck on campus. But like, I feel like being in my apartment kind of stripped the experience of being in dental school away. Like Meharry at least gave us 10 pairs of scrub, and I've opened like 3. Like 3. Everything else still in the bag. Like, it's like that experience of, walking on campus in your scrubs, seeing your classmates in the mornings. Like, I didn't have that.
Fair enough.
I didn't have that. Luckily, I did the master's program last year, so I already knew people. But no, that whole virtual learning. I'm a dental student, but from my apartment.
No. Like 100% virtual, probably not. Because I got to go in the lab a few times a week. Like I kind of got to like meet like at least the top half of my classmates.
True.
Because I couldn't really see.
Couldn't see.
Everybody got masks and like face shields on and whatnot. I remember like the first time I saw some of my classmates, I'm like, oh, that's what you look like. Okay.
No, but really though, it was just so funny to me because some of my classmates were like literally still meeting each other in like November.
Yeah, it's still happening. Yep.
Meharry is not like, my class is like 60 people. It's like that was ridiculous to me. But yeah, no. But after the day would be over, like, wake up and do it all over again, really. And the spring semester was basically the same thing, but we started towards the end of the semester having operative.
Okay.
So our like curriculum was different. Like, I started operative in like June, but we did it for like a few weeks. This was like an intro to operative. Next semester, it's like basically all operative, like 14 credits. so yeah. So you've probably like done a lot more like cavity preps.
Yeah, we've done a couple of those, but whatchamacallit, the thing about the way Maryland does operative is we started operative maybe in like November, and operative is gonna continue going all of November, essentially all of spring semester, and then we're also going into our D2 year
with operative.
Well,
y'all gonna know your stuff, man. There's a lot of operatives.
Yes.
But yeah, D1 year was
interesting,
to say the least.
All right, so we touched on a few topics while talking about a typical day in the life of a D1 student at both of you guys' schools. So I know that a big part of your D1 year was the COVID pandemic, online learning, things kind of changed around. So maybe for a little bit, could you guys talk about how COVID impacted your D1 year? I know you guys mentioned some things already, but how COVID impacted your D1 year, and also both of you can mention how it started to change as things were changing, such as the spike in Tennessee or Cheeto. Like you mentioned that you guys still went into the lab basically starting in September, but things started kind of open up more and more in Maryland like during the spring semester. So you can talk about how your experience started to change, and then on top of all that stuff, just touch on how your social life was and maybe was affected because of COVID. Like you guys mentioned, some people didn't meet their classmates until really late in the semester, and you guys are all going through dental school together. It's a hard process, and like one of the things that's supposed to make it better is your social life and the camaraderie with your fellow classmates. So you guys can touch on basically COVID affecting your first year and social life.
Go ahead.
So like COVID, like I said, like COVID had people like with the mask, face shields and all that other stuff, but we were still going into lab. But when the numbers started to get a lot better, like when people started to get vaccinated and stuff like that, what that allowed us to do, because we were taking operative, there's a lot of stuff that you don't get done, or like you'd like to practice a lot more. So they were very strict about who could come into the building and like what hours you could stay in the building. So before, the previous D1s and everybody else were able to come in after hours to practice their preps and whatever else that they felt like they were lacking on. We weren't allowed to do that at first, but like as soon as things started to get a little bit more relaxed, COVID numbers started to get a little bit better. They started to open up after hours for us, still socially distanced with masks and everything like that. But yeah, that was definitely a plus and a happy point for me, because like you're working with such small margins of error, like millimeters, that it's a wonderful thing to be able to practice that over and over and over as much as you can.
For sure.
In terms of my social life, there really wasn't that much social things to do, because like bars in Baltimore were closed or were at like 25% capacity. So me and a handful of classmates will go out from time to time, but with you know, socializing with friends with like masks on is not the same as
Right,
like being
it's
able
not
to
the same.
socialize with
Yeah.
your friends, you know, without it and everything. So I mean, it kind of slowed things down a little bit like D1 year, but I'm
Right.
hoping things get a lot better our D2 year.
Got you. Yeah, I would say that with COVID, the impact it had on my D1 year, I would say that it would like affected my learning, like my ability to learn, and I'll explain. So, for me, like I think I said this already, I've never been a fan of online classes because, at least for me, like if I'm in my apartment, I want to like relax. I want to relax. I want to, you know, just sit down, be like kind of be slumped on the couch, just like relax at the end of the day. But no, I would have to kind of focus, act like I'm in a classroom, but I'm in like on my couch. Like even if I'm at my desk, the structure of my apartment or the floor plan, my desk, if I were to turn around, I would see my couch. Like I don't have like an office in my apartment. So for me, there was a lot of like self-discipline issues because because also they did not require us, or most of the professors did not require us to have our cameras on.
Oh yeah.
So I can't even lie, it was very easy to log on to class but not be at your desk.
Yeah.
Just to put it like that. So for me, that was honestly on me. Like I can't even lie because it was just easy. And especially they recorded the lectures, so it was one of those things. I didn't feel like, you know what I'm saying?
I'll get to it later on.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And would you believe I typically did not? I'll just watch it. I'll watch it later, blah, blah, and that's a setup for a disaster. But no, aside from just like that part of things, I feel like COVID kind of, or actually really, lessened the opportunities to meet people.
Yeah.
To interact with the classmates you'll have for the next few years. And for me, like I'm just naturally like a social person. Sometimes people refer to me as like being mixy. just because like I just like talking to people,
Yeah.
but for others they aren't like that. So for the introverts out there, I'm sure that they was really struggling because like not being able to know your classmates, one, not being able to go outside, two, and it's just like it's a lot of stress for people. So I'm definitely glad that things are starting to kind of open up a little bit more and people are able to meet others, because that's really a part of the experience. It's not only
100%.
about classes,
100%.
you know, but in terms of social life, personally, that like COVID didn't really affect that for me that much.
For real?
And Alex, like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't out going to I wasn't out going to the big gatherings and stuff. Don't get me wrong. But like, I feel like I was still seeing people just, you know, safely.
Yeah.
Safely, you know, I was seeing people safely, but like you said, it's not the same having your mask on.
The mask on,
you know,
all of that.
But social life, a lot of people, they like to say stuff like, oh, well, in dental school period, oh, you won't have a social life.
It's not true.
And then with COVID, oh, like you can't socialize. Don't get me wrong, like it was definitely harder. You know, I couldn't just hit anyone up and say, oh, let's hang out, because like you said, a lot of places weren't even open. But when it just comes to social life period in dental school, it's definitely possible. I don't know who said it wasn't, because like I've never understood. The people who would say, okay, I'm gonna study all day. I'm gonna study, like wake up, I have class, study after class, and as I say, it's a Friday, right? There are people out there, they'll be like, oh, it's 11:30 at night and I'm gonna still study, knowing that they were studying all day, putting in work all day, and they're still gonna sit down at their desk. Like, you have to give yourself a break.
100%. Because rest is part of the studying period.
It is.
It's like, really, you can only focus but for so long.
That's what I'm saying.
At a certain point, you're just lying to yourself.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
have to come back and study that stuff all over again
All
anyway.
over again.
Nah.
So, yeah.
All right, so next we're going to talk about a question that someone actually submitted. People want to know, what was the hardest class of your D1 year and why?
Gross anatomy. Gross anatomy was my hardest class of D1 year. I took gross anatomy fall semester, and for me, I would say it was the hardest class just because of the bulk of information to know, one, but also learning gross anatomy through my computer screen was also a struggle, because at least at Meharry, unfortunately, due to COVID, we weren't able to experience the whole like cadaver lab. So seeing it in person, literally the dissection video, had to watch dissection videos, and it's not the same. Didn't hit the same as doing it yourself in person. So with anatomy, it wasn't just the head and neck either. I came in thinking it was going to be primarily head and neck, but we started off with the upper limb, and then we did head and neck, and then we did I want to say thorax, and then abdomen. And for me, like I took anatomy and physiology like in undergrad, but it wasn't. This was something different.
Yeah,
I don't know what
this one.
I don't know what that was, but gross anatomy, like it was just a lot to try to visualize without actually seeing it in person. So, and the questions, at least for my professor, when she would give the questions, a lot of it was just like I think it's called like third order questions, where it didn't just ask you straight up, oh, like what does this innervate? It would say, oh, a 35-year-old biker like hit a rock and fell off and like stabbed his like left shoulder.
The PTSD.
That's what I'm saying, and it was all this fluff in the question, and if you don't already have a solid understanding of the material,
it's curtains.
That's what I'm saying. So that was my hardest, gross anatomy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
100%. I'd say gross anatomy. 100%. Like, cause gross anatomy is like they had no chill whatsoever. Like they just like it was so much stuff. And we had a little bit of cadaver lab. We didn't actually like do the dissections ourselves. Like we watched videos as well, and we'd go in like from time to time because of COVID to actually see like the dissections and the cadavers and all that other stuff. But it still didn't help. Gross anatomy is still awful. Like there's just so much stuff. Like who would have known that there's that many nerves, muscles, bones in the body? And we did full body too. So
y'all different.
It was a lot.
It was.
Yeah. So gross anatomy definitely 100% hardest class of D1 year, and it carried like double the amount of credits that every other class carried. So it didn't even matter if you failed gross anatomy. That you might have to redo your whole D1 year, your whole spring year or everything. So that wasn't the class you wanted to fail.
There was a lot of credits for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so to add on to that question and to stay on the topic of the academics of D1 year in itself, a lot of people use the analogy of drinking from a fire hose when it comes to professional schools. So how did you learn to balance and prioritize your classes and all of the information that was coming in at once?
I'd say I'm a very like to-do list kind of guy. So if it's not on my to-do list or in my calendar, it's probably not getting done. What I did at the beginning of the semester was as soon as I gained access to my classes on Blackboard, I would go through and find the schedule for each class and put every single exam, test, quiz, homework assignment, everything in my calendar. And everything is set to notify me 14 days before it's due. So that way, like as it's about to happen, because my goal in dental school was to never be surprised. Like I never wanted to be in a situation where it's like there's an exam on Friday, but there's so much happening. It's Wednesday, and I didn't even know about that exam on Friday. And now I'm like, that's my biggest fear. So everything notifies me like 14 days before, and I'll put it on I have a whiteboard in front of my desk, and I'll put it, and like I can always see like, okay, I still got to study for that. That's coming up. That's due tomorrow. So like. That way I can cross stuff off my to-do list. So that's what helped me.
Sounds like organization.
Yeah,
organization. No, I hear you. Organization is definitely key. I didn't get a planner until like maybe midway into fall semester, and I definitely noticed the difference because, like you said, just writing it down and seeing it, it helps you kind of stay on track. There's always going to be a lot of things to do. So without having whether it's a planner or Post-it notes or in your phone reminders. Like I recently started using that as well. A reminder, like on iPhone. But there's a lot to do in dental school at all times. So to have like it kind of laid out, that kind of helped me at least stay on top of things. Know when I have this exam coming up. Know when I have this project coming up. But when it came to when it comes to balancing the different classes, because I'm not gonna lie, every class is different in terms of level of difficulty, how much time you have to put into it. Some people, they like to do the thing, they study let's say a X amount of time for every single class, like the same amount of time. Other people, they say, you know, they start off with that, but then they might switch. Okay, say I put in like this amount of hours for anatomy, this amount of hours for like biochem, stuff like that. So I think everyone's different.
Yeah, 100%.
Really, everyone's different.
So like, what another thing that helped me was like, really, honestly, realistically, once you get in the heat of things, the next exam takes priority. So like,
that's true.
Your harder class might be on Friday, but if your next exam is on Wednesday is currently the priority. Like that exam that day takes precedent over everything else for real.
See, and that was one of my hardest things to kind of like, you know, understand going through it, because I might, like you said, I might have a hard class on Friday, or like maybe an exam for a harder class on a Friday. Let's say it's a Monday, and I have an exam on Wednesday for like a less, like not as difficult class. For me, I would still try and find ways to study or prioritize the exam on Friday
over the one
on Wednesday. Although the one on Wednesday was coming up sooner. And that, I don't know. It's hard. It depends.
It's really that's why the 14-day thing really helped me out. So because like, just because the exam is on Friday and I'm more concerned about the one on Wednesday, doesn't mean I haven't started studying for the one on Friday.
Exactly.
Because the 14-day notification, I'm trying to tell you, to save your life. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Like, once you get that notification, I stop what I'm doing. I write it on my whiteboard. That way, every day I'm looking, like every time I look up, it's right on my whiteboard. I'm like, okay, I should probably start studying a little bit for that exam. So like, if anatomy's on Friday, I never want to be in a situation where I'm only studying 3 days for anatomy. Like, that's just a disaster waiting to happen.
I think studying in advance is one of the like best pieces of advice I can give anyone. Study in advance, because it's let's say that's the same scenario, exams coming up on Friday, and like you will feel almost not as rushed, not as nervous, not as anxious after the exam on Wednesday for the exam on Friday, because you were already studying for the exam on Friday.
And you don't even have to go ham, but like you need to
look at something.
Like you need to know, okay, like there's 14 chapters I gotta go through.
Facts.
Like last thing you want to do is like 3 days before the exam is when you're like, oh, there's 20 chapters I gotta go through. Oh, 20 of these chapters are all dense material.
True story.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you end up not sleeping for you know what I'm saying, like 3 days straight kind of thing.
No facts.
Then you're all the way burnt out on the weekend, and then you gotta rinse and repeat, get yourself ready. Exactly. So
time management and proper organization,
it helps.
Essential.
It helps
for sure.
You know, figure out what works best for you early and quickly.
Yes, very quickly.
That way, quickly,
because things will pick up. Like
once the classes start picking up, it's really a wrap. Because what will happen is like at least the way they did it at Maryland, they staggered the classes. So like some classes, not all the classes started in August. Some classes started like a month after, then a month after that. Some classes are shorter and compressed. So like there's quizzes and exams and tests that just coming from every direction kind of thing.
Honestly though, every direction.
All right, so we're gonna finish up with just one very relevant question for incoming dental students, and then some general advice. So one thing that seems to be common among the dental community, and possibly more prevalent in the African American dental student community, is imposter syndrome. And so people wanted to know, during your D1 year, did you have times where you encountered imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you kind of deal with that, or help yourself get over that, so that you didn't maybe dwell on it too long and try not to let it affect your academics?
To be honest, I don't think I really dealt with imposter syndrome like that, because like I really feel like what D1 year felt like, because it was a lot of didactic work.
Right.
It felt like college essentially. It's like it's just faster paced college.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially with things being online and whatnot. I feel like had I been in person and like actually being in the school a lot more often, or maybe like if I was seeing patients right off the bat, then maybe I would have dealt with a lot more imposter syndrome. But as it stands currently, the way my D1 year was with like COVID and everything, like I don't think I really dealt with imposter syndrome like that.
Okay, that's good. That's definitely good. I 100% experienced imposter syndrome. starting. Let me think. So classes for us began in June of last year. Imposter Syndrome became my best friend in like August. August or something. I can't even lie, because you start off dental school and you're like, oh, I'm in dental school, I'm a dental student, and all of that eventually turns into stress and comparison and feeling like you like just don't belong almost. It's a horrible feeling. And I never thought that it would affect me as much as it did, but then it really hits different when like you feel like you're giving it your best and it's not enough.
Okay.
And like, cause like after you give it your best, what else can you do? And it was even more annoying when you feel like everyone else around you is just doing well, and then there's you. So there was a lot of comparison going on, but for me, the way that I kind of got out of that whole oh, I don't belong, or like I can't do this kind of those thoughts, is that I would really have to remove myself from the like just the situation.
Okay.
But not like physically. I'm just like kind of look at myself, one of those like out of body experiences. Look at myself and say, Malik, like, you are here because you work to get here.
Absolutely.
Like nobody. Yeah, people helped me like study, or yeah, people like supported me along the way. But at the end of the day, like it was me who like put the work in.
You earned the right to be
That's
there.
what I'm saying. So I had to have those moments, those talks with myself, looking in the mirror kind of thing, talks with myself. And also reaching out to my friends who were there with me, like in college, who they saw the struggle that I went through trying to get to where I am today. And they're really the only people that say stuff like, oh, I see Malik, you about to be a whole doctor in a few years. And it's so funny because I don't think about that as I'm going through it. Only thing on my mind is like stress, I'm hungry, I'm tired, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say that's how I got through like those bad negative thoughts that were just really holding me back at the end of the day.
Yeah. I feel like I also got lucky because I knew I had mentors in every single year above me. So I knew a D2, I knew a D3, and I also knew a D4, and somebody who had just recently graduated.
Right,
so
right.
I felt like I had a strong community behind me kind of thing. So I was like, all right, like they were letting me know like if they could do it, I could also do it, and they reassured me of that. So I feel like that's probably also helped me out
for
a lot.
sure. Having a strong support system,
for sure, yeah,
important, definitely important. I'm sure every school has a whole like, or I don't know every, but like a lot of big sib, little sib kind of program.
Oh, yeah.
Like my bigs at Meharry, they definitely have helped me like when I'm feeling like, oh, I can't get through this class, or this professor like tripping, like what am I gonna do? And then they really just show me like, nah, this is just how that professor always is, or no, like if I can do it, like you can as well. So yeah, definitely a support system is needed to kind of carry you through,
for sure,
because there are a lot of moments where you're just like, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, that's good. So like you guys, we know that it's very important to be plugged in when it comes to being a dental student and in the dental field itself. It does sometimes feel like the more people you know, or the more resourceful people you know, the better, because it can help you do well in school, and it can also help you do well in your career.
Right.
Especially like as someone that wants to specialize, knowing a lot of general dentists in your area, the other specialists in your area, like I personally felt like being social is like a big part of being in the field of dentistry. Like being a people person is like very important.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, you guys touched on like, having a support system, like helping you a lot. And we're just gonna finish off with like any other general advice you want to give to any incoming students on how to tackle your first year of dental school and how to be successful.
Really, the main thing that I have to say is time management is key, as well as proper organization. Like, don't go into dental school saying or thinking that, oh, I'll be fine. Because I'll be fine. But at the same time, don't go in saying, oh, dental school is going to kill me. Don't have any of those. Just be prepared. Like, organization, have things laid out. Like, get a planner if you're one of those visual people. I have to see it. But yeah, with those two things, having like proper like time management skills, getting essential like adequate rest, stuff like that. It's the small things that really like matter.
Yeah, 100%. I would say breathe. Dental school is that there are people that have made it before you. Like you can also do it as well. You make time for what you want to make time for. Like as much as like there's a lot of stuff happening, you can make time. So like, don't neglect yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you're the type of person who in your normal day, like like going to the gym or working out helps you be at your best, try to work in some time to do that. You know, like don't neglect yourself just because you want to do very well in school kind of thing. Like there's a way to do it all.
There is self-care.
Yeah, self-care. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's definitely needed in dental school. And also, I guess a piece of advice, as you're going through it, don't forget, like, to take care of yourself. Like, don't forget what you like to do, what your outlets are. Yeah. Because the work is always going to be there. So it's like, you have to make time to make sure that you are good. Yeah. Because if you're not good, then the work not going to be good. So
the work not going to be
good either. So self-care, time management, organization.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
I gotta say, those answers sounded way too much like the advice I got on the phone in fall 2015 from Cheeto. If you know, you know. Alright, so finishing out the video, I really want to thank you guys both for coming on the channel, giving people like myself as well as other D1 students or incoming D1 students that follow me, and in years to come there's going to be more incoming students every year that are probably going to search and end up finding this video. I hope so. It's really going to get out to the people that need to see it. Again, thank you guys for coming on. Congratulations again for finishing your D1 years. And Malik, Cheeto doesn't really use social media like that, but Malik, if you want to like give your, contact information, social media, that kind of stuff. Cheeto. I don't even know if Cheeto has an email.
I was going to say email.
Like, Cheeto, email. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, someone watching this video will need to come see you guys when you're D3, so.
True. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. I should probably make an Instagram page.
Maybe you could. Right? No, I have a dental Instagram page called Chasing Dr. Leeks, like Leeks, because
I'll write it on the
alright, my most common nickname. You could also follow my personal account if you so desire. MWalters_.
Alright.
Follow back, yeah.
He said I follow back.
Yeah, team follow back.
Yeah. My email.
I promise you, I just might make Cheeto's IG page for him.
I'm thinking about hearing everything that we talked about today. I realized I should probably like make one. Just it could help somebody else. So.
Or if you don't even want to use it personally, make a demo page.
Like a demo page.
Yeah. But in the meantime, my email is cheetozeuta@gmail.com.
And I'll spell that out on the screen too.
Yeah.
Alright, and that's it. So thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share the video with anyone you think may need it. And I'll see you all in the next one.